Hello, we will now discuss paper 1 of variant 2 in 2024 February-March series. So then let's get started with the first question that we have here. Question 1, write the number 30,050 in figures. So you need to use digits to represent this number. So it's going to be 30,050. So this is how you would write it. The second question is, write 5,926 correct to the nearest 10. So nearest 10, so you need to circle the digit in the tens column. So this 2 is the digit in the tens column because 6 is in the ones. Then you have tens, hundreds, and then thousands. So the 2 is the digit in the thousands in the tens column. Then you circle that, underline the digit that is right next to it. Based on the underlined digit, you need to decide whether to round it up or down. So we have a 6 which is more than 5. So if we have 5 or more, we definitely have to round it up. So then the 2 will become a 3. So you have 593 and the 6 will now become a 0. So 5,930 is the answer when you round 5,926 to the nearest 10. Let's move on to question 3. Mark the midpoint of the line ST. So this is the line ST that is given to us, and we need to mark the midpoint of the line. So you can do this in different ways. So you can even use a pair of compass, and then you can do it as well. So in that case, you would place the compass at this point, and then you would draw an arc like this, and you would place the metal point of the compass here. With that same measurement, you would draw another arc, and we can clearly see that these two are the points where the two arcs are intersecting. So when you connect it with a straight line, the place where it hits the line here will be considered as the midpoint. That is one way of doing it using the pair of compasses. Or else what we could do is, you can measure the length of the line ST. So this total line is about 9 centimeters. So using the ruler, you can measure it, and right in the middle means you need to find the midpoint. To find the midpoint, 9 centimeters, you're going to split it into 2, that is 4.5. So you're going to measure 4.5 from any of the sides, and you can mark the midpoint. So it will be somewhere over here. So this side will be 4.5 centimeters, and this side also will be 4.5 centimeters. This is that midpoint. Let's move on to question 4. Mark shade 2/9 of this shape. So there is a shape that is given, and we need to shade 2/9, which means first this shape is going to be completely split into 9 portions. So I'm going to split it this way. I'm going to divide it this way. So we can see that we have 9 big squares like this. Now I'm going to shade in 2 of it. So I'm going to shade in this region and this region. So this is going to be it. Question B, write 2/9 as a percentage. Now we have a fraction here. When we try to convert a fraction or a decimal to a percentage, you should always times it by 100. And if we are to do it the other way around, we got to divide it by 100. So here we need to times this 2/9 by 100. So I'm going to times it by 100. So we have 2/9, and then I'm going to times it by 100. So when I do that, I end up getting 22.22%. So I can write it as 22.22%. You can also write it as 22.2% as well. That is correct to 3 significant figures. But to stay in the safer side, it's always best to write it to 2 decimal places. Let's move on to question 5. A night bus runs from 21:50 to 5:08 the next day. Work out the number of hours and minutes that the night bus runs. So to do this, I'm going to use a timeline. So this is the timeline I'm going to use. And the starting time is 21:50. So I'm going to mark that. The next thing that I'm going to do is, I'm going to write the hour that is right next to it here. So the next hour that we have is, the closest hour that we have is 22. So from 21 to 22 hours, it's going to be 10 minutes. Then from 22 to midnight. Midnight is going to be 0000. In that case, it's going to take 2 hours. Then from midnight to 5, it's going to be 5 hours. Then 5 to 5:18 is going to be 18 more minutes. So then the total number of hours and minutes will be 7 hours, because 2 and 5 is 7. And then 10 and 18 is going to be 28. So it's going to be 7 hours and 28 minutes. Let's move on to question 6. From the list of numbers, write down all the multiples of 11. Okay. When it comes to the multiples of 11, up to the 9th multiple of 11, the 2 digits that we have are going to be the same. Like 11, 22, 33, 44, likewise, it will keep continuing until the 9th times a table for until 9 times 11, which is 99. Which means definitely this 55 is a multiple of 11. We do 34, 76, 83, they are not multiples of 11. Then the next multiple that we have after 99 is 110. 11 more than 99 is 110. Then 11 more than 110 is 121, which means it's going to be this one. So we have 55 and 121. These are going to be the multiples of 11 that we can find here. Let's move on to part B. Zaid has a non-calculator method for working out if a number is a multiple of 11. He shows his method for the number 919,281 like this. Subtract and add alternatively the digits in the number. So subtract, add, subtract, add, subtract. Likewise, we do that. So we get 22. And then check if the answer is a multiple of 11. So 22 is in the 11 times table. So that is a multiple of 11. And as 22 is a multiple of 11, we can come to a conclusion that 919,281 is also a multiple of 11. That is how Zaid explains. That is Zaid's method. Now, let's see what we are asked to do here. So then show that the number, so there is a number given, is a multiple of 11 by using Zaid's method. So the number given here is 918,271,937. So we need to show that this is a multiple of 11 by using Zaid's method. So I'm going to write the digits first. So I'll write it as 9, 1, 8, 2, 7, 1, 9, 3, and 7. So I have left some space in between so that I can put the signs, the addition and the subtraction. So minus, plus, subtract, plus, subtract, plus, subtract, plus. This is how it's done. Now, we got to add and subtract them. 9 minus 1 is 8, 8 plus 8 is 16, 16 minus 2 is 14, 14 and 7 is 21, 21 minus 1 is 20, 20 plus 9 is 29. From 29, we got to deduct 3, that is 26, and then 26, and then we have this 7, which is going to be equal to 33. So we get 33 when we add and subtract alternatively. And this 33 is in the 11 times table because this is 3 times 11. Due to that reason, we can say that this number is a multiple of 11. So I can write it as 918,271,937. This number is a multiple of 11. Now let's move on to question 7. The range of 8 numbers is 31. These are 7 of the numbers. So the 7 of the numbers are 28, 36, 42, 24, 34, 38, 16, and 21. Find the 2 possible values for the 8th number. We are given the range as 31. The range is the difference between the largest and the smallest number, that is the maximum and the minimum number. Now let's assume, now the eighth number is not given, but let's assume that the eighth number is going to be the largest number out of these numbers. To find that, this is the range, which is 31. So our smallest number will be 16. So to this 16, we need to add this 31, which becomes 47, which means this 47 is the largest number that it could be. So then, because only if this is 47, 47 minus 16 will give you 31 as the range. Now here we assume that the eighth number is going to be the largest number. The same way, we can also assume that the smallest number that we have here is going to be the eighth number. Then in that case, to find that smallest number, now we are going to do it this way. So here, now if we consider the eighth number to be the smallest number, then out of the numbers that we have altogether, 42 will be the largest. So from this 42, we would deduct the difference that we have here, which is this 31. So from 42, I'm going to deduct 31. This will give us 11. That means that smallest number will be 11, which means the eighth number could be 11 or it could be 47. Now let's move on to the next question that we have, which is question 8. We now need to calculate the square root of 5.76 plus 2.8 cube. So I'm going to put this in the calculator. Square root 5.76. I need to put the plus 2.8 cube, but the plus goes outside the square root. So I need to move this cursor, and then I need to add 2.8 cubed. So this is what I get when I solve it. So that is going to be 24.352. So 24.352 is the answer. Next, we need to simplify this. 4m plus 7k minus m plus 3k. To simplify this, we need to collect all the like terms. So 4m and minus m. So always a term's sign, a variable's or a term's sign is right in front of it. So this 4m is positive, this m is negative. So from 4m, I need to deduct this m, that becomes 3m. Then I have 7k and 3k, they both are positive, so I need to add them together, which is 10k. So this is what I get as the answer. Let's move on to question 10. From this list of numbers, find the highest number possible from the product of two of the numbers. Product means to multiply. When two of the numbers given here are multiplied, it should give us the highest possible number. So we have negative numbers given, we have 0, and we have positive numbers. So to get the largest possible number means, if you consider a number line, we have all the positive numbers in the right side and we have all the negative numbers in the left side. And even though now, for example, let's say you have something like negative 27, and let's say in the positive number we have something like a 5, still this 5 is the largest number. So the numbers that are in the right side in a number line are always the largest number compared to the numbers in the left side. The same way, when it comes to negative and positive numbers are going to be the largest. That is the one that has the highest value. So if two numbers are multiplied together, and if we are to find the highest possible number means, we need to see what two combinations will create a positive number. So that is when two negative numbers are multiplied together will give you a positive number, or when two positive numbers are multiplied together, we get a positive number. Which means when two negative numbers are multiplied, if it gives a positive number, means we're going to pick these two numbers that are given here. So when we consider this negative 9 and negative 7, we end up getting 9 times 7, that is going to be equal to 63. So negative 9 times negative 7 is equal to 63, but this 63 is positive. The same way, because we are multiplying two negatives here, the same way, two positive numbers should be selected, and that's going to give us the largest possible number, means it's going to be this 6 and 8. We're going to use this 6 and 8. So when we use this 6 and 8, we end up getting 6 times 8 as 48. But out of these two, the highest possible one is the 63. Out of 63 and 43, 63 is the highest, which means the two numbers that give us the largest possible value, possible number, will be -9 and -7. The next part of the question is the lowest number possible from the product of three of the numbers. This time, three numbers are multiplied and it should be the lowest possible number, which means for it to be the lowest possible number, it should be a negative number. And three numbers are multiplied means now you need to see what three numbers when multiplied gives us a negative number as the answer, and it should be the lowest possible number. So for you to get a negative answer, two of the numbers should be positive and the other one should be negative, because positive times positive is a positive number. Then that positive when multiplied with a negative gives us a negative negative as the final answer. The same way, it could also be three negatives, because negative and a negative is a positive number. Then that positive when it gets multiplied with the negative number that we have here, it anyways becomes negative, which means these two are the possible combinations in which we could get the lowest possible number, which is a negative number. Now, we're going to check what two positive numbers and a negative number will give us the smallest negative number. Smallest negative number means this, if you just forget about the sign and focus only on the number will look larger. So in that case, the two positive numbers that we are going to pick will be the two largest numbers, which is 8 and 6. So 8 times 6. And the smallest number that we have, which is -9. So 8 times 6 times -9 is -432. Likewise, let's also check what happens when we multiply three negatives together. So in that case, the three smallest negative numbers should be multiplied together, which is -9 times, -7 times, -3. When we multiply this, we get -189. So then out of these two numbers, the answers that we have got here, the lowest possible number is -432, which means the three numbers are 8, 6, and -9. Let's move on to question 11. Sarah records the number of people who play golf on each of 14 days. So this is how it's given. We need to complete the stem and the leaf diagram. And the key is 2/line 8 represents 28. Which means now we need to put them in a stem and a leaf diagram, and it's always best to write it in the form of an ordered stem and a leaf diagram. So when we consider the 20s, we have 28. So that's the only number in the 28s. So 2 is already written, so I'm going to put the 8 here. Next, when we consider the 30s, we do not have anything. We do not even write a 0 there. Because if you put a 0, then this will represent 30, but we do not have a 30, so we do not put anything there. Next one, when we consider the 40s, we have 46, then we have 49, and we also have 45. So I'm going to put that in order as 45, 46, and 49. So 45, 46, and 49. This is how I should be writing it. Next, when we consider the 50s, we have 54, then we've got 50, and then we have 58. So the smallest is 50, then 54, then 58. So 50, 54, 58. Next, when we consider the 60s, we have 64, 65, and 68. That's the order. So 64, 65, 68. And finally, when we consider the 70s, we have 71, 70, 72, and 77. So I'm going to put it in order as 70, 71, 72, and 77. This is how I should complete the stem and the leaf diagram. Then the next question is to find the median. Median is the score in the middle. So to find the score in the middle, you got to put them in order and identify what is in the middle. If you have odd number of scores, you can easily pick the number in the middle. But if you have even number of scores, you end up getting two numbers in the middle. So you add them together and divide it by 2. In this case, now when we consider the order, when we consider the sum and the leaf diagram, it's already in order. So I'm going to write it across it this way. I'm going to do it this way. Cross off the smallest, largest, smallest, largest, smallest, largest, smallest, largest, then smallest, largest, smallest, largest. Then we are left with two numbers in the middle. The two numbers are, this 8 represents 58, this 4 represents 64. So like I mentioned, when we have even number of scores, we need to add and divide it by 2. So in that case, it's going to be, so we have 58 and 64. Add them together and divide it by 2. So when we add these two numbers together and divide it by 2, we get 61. This 61 is the median. Now let's move on to the next question that we have, which is question 12. So this is the net of a cuboid that is given to us, 10 centimeters, 4 and 5 centimeters. So the question is asking us to calculate the surface area and the volume. So I have drawn a shape in the side here, the 3D shape here of this net. So here it has a length of 10 centimeters, a width of 4 centimeters, and a height of 5 centimeters. So that we can visualize it easily. Surface area means it's going to be the area of all the faces. We have 6 faces in total. So if we check the front face that we have here to calculate the area, we need to do 10 times 5. So 10 times 5. Like this, we have a face at the back as well. So I need to times this by 2. Add that with the faces in the sides. So that is, when I consider this side, it's going to be 5 times 4. I have 1 in the left side as well. So that's going to be 5 times 4. I need to times it by a 2. Then when we consider the face at the bottom, it's going to be 10 times 4. I have 1 at the top as well. So I need to double that. 10 times 4. And then I need to double this, multiply by 2. I can put this entire thing in the calculator and see what we end up getting. So when we multiply and add them together, when we do put this entire thing in the calculator and find it, we end up getting 220, and this is going to be square centimeters because this is surface area. So surface area is the area of all the faces together. The next one is to calculate the volume of this cuboid. To calculate the volume of a cuboid, we multiply the length, width, and the height together, or multiply the area of the cross-section with the length along which the cross-section stays the same. So in this case, it's going to be 10 times 4 times 5. So 10 times 4 times 5 is equal to 200. So the volume is going to be 200 cubic centimeters. Let's move on to the next question, which is question 13. There are 20 cars in a car park and 3 of the cars are blue. James wants to draw a pie chart to show this information. We need to calculate the angle of the sector that represents blue cars in a pie chart. So now previously we did a question where we converted a fraction into a percentage. Similar to that, here we put it in the form of a fraction and find the angle. So we wouldn't multiply by 100 like we did before, but we multiply by 360 degrees. So the total number of cars is 20. The number of blue cars is going to be 3. So that's going to be 3 out of 20, and we times it with 360 degrees. So I'm going to put this in the calculator. So we have 3 out of 20. And then I'm gonna put this I'm gonna multiply this with 360. So when I do that, I end up getting 54, which means the angle of the sector is 54 degrees. Part B, one of the 20 cars is picked at random. Find the probability that this car is not blue. Out of 20 cars, there are 3 cars that are blue. That means to find the number of cars that are not blue, I need to deduct that 3, which will be 17. I need to write this as a probability, which means this 17 is written out of the total number of cars, which is this 20. So that's going to be 17 out of 20. Let's move on to the next question, which is question 14. We need to factorize 3x cubed minus 7xy. To factorize means you need to take out the highest common factor outside the brackets and to put the rest within the brackets. It means to take out the common terms and to put the rest within the brackets. So here we have x in common. So I'm going to take out the x and I'm going to put the rest within the brackets. So I'm left with 3x squared. And from this minus 7xy, I have taken the x already. So we are left with minus 7y. This is what we get. Question 15. Write A to B as a column vector. So this is where A is, this is where B is. So I'm going to connect it with a line. So A to B means I need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 units to the left. And I need to go 1, 2, 3 units up. 10 to the left means it's going to be negative 10 because when we move to the left, it's negative. And 10 units, so it's going to be 10 minus 10. And we are moving up by 3 units, so we will have the 3. And as we are moving up, it's going to be positive. So it's going to be minus 10 and 3. That is the column vector. Let's move on to question 16. We are given a table here with the exchange rates of converting a euro into dollars and a rupee into dollars. Wani changes X euros into dollars. She then changes the dollars into 17,850 rupees. Calculate the value of X. We need to find how many euros did she actually change to get 17,850 rupees. Now, to do this, first I'm going to consider the relationship that I have here, which is the relationship between euros and dollars. So we know that 1 euro is the same as $1.05. So I'm going to write it this way. This one, using this exchange rate that is given to us, we're going to find what we get for X euros. For us to get X euros, we're going to check how many dollars will be spent. So euros means both the currencies should be written at the top. Same currencies should be written at the top and same currencies should be written at the bottom. So I have put the euros at the top and the dollars at the bottom. So I need to find how many dollars this is. So I'm going to find what this amount is. To find this question mark, I'm going to cross multiply. That means this 1.05 gets multiplied with this X. And in the other side, I'll put that as a question mark itself, times 1 euro. That means the question mark is equal to 1.05x divided by 1, which is going to be the same amount. This will give us the amount of dollars. So I'll write it as 1.05x dollars. So this is going to be it. But then, now there is a relationship between the dollars and rupees. I need to find what this x is. So I need to form a relationship between rupees and dollars. So for rupees and dollars, it's given as 1 rupee. So I'll write it as RS here to show that that is going to be rupees. 1 rupee is the same as $0.013. So let me put it like this. In the other side, I need to find what this is. So the amount in rupees is given to us as 17,850. So I'm going to write that at the top. And the amount of dollars is what we are supposed to find. That's going to be this amount, which is 1.05x dollars, because this is what we are trying to convert. So when we convert this, we will get it in rupees. That's what we are trying to say. That's what we're trying to do. Now, I'm going to cross multiply just like I did here, and we're going to see what we get. So that is 1.05x times 1 is the same, 1.05x. This is equal to 0.013 times 17,850. Then I need to get rid of this 1.05. So I need to divide it by 1.05. That is to divide both the sides by 1.05. When I do this, I get the value of x, and the value of x will be, I'm going to put this in the calculator. So let's see what we get. 0.013 times 17,850 divided by 1.05. So when we do that, we get 221, which means $221 was only converted. There were 221 euros, which was converted into dollars. And then when those dollars were converted it into rupees, she ended up getting 17,850 rupees. Now let's move on to the next question that we have, which is question 17. The line y is equal to 2x minus 5 intersects the line y is equal to 3 at the point P. Find the coordinates of point P. So then this is like solving simultaneous equations. So the y is equal to 2x minus 5 is what's given. We are going to substitute this y is equal to 3 into this first equation. So the value of y, which is 3, is substituted here, which means 3 is equal to 2x minus 5. I'm going to take the minus 5 to the other side. That becomes plus 5. So that makes this 8. 8 is equal to 2x. Then if I'm to find what x is, I need to divide the 8 by a 2 to find what x is. So the value of x is equal to a 4, which means I know the value of x now. Now to find the y value, when we try to solve simultaneous equations, we substitute the value of x that we found into any one of the equations given to find the y value. But already in the question, we know what y is equal to. So I can just put that y here. Let's move on to question 18. The diagram shows two shapes, A and B. So these two are the shapes shown in the diagram. Describe fully the single transformation that maps shape A onto shape B. This is shape A, this is shape B. We need to see what this transformation is. So by the looks of the diagrams, this is going to be rotation, and it has to be rotated in the anti-clockwise direction by a 90-degree angle. And we need to find the center of rotation as well, because when we explain rotation, the angle, direction, and the center of rotation should be mentioned. So first I'm going to write it as, so this is rotation of 90 degrees anti-clockwise, and about, I need to write the coordinate points. So to identify the coordinate points, what we got to do is we need to place the tracing paper on the grid like this. And after placing the tracing paper, you can make a small mark at the top of the tracing paper to understand where that mark will be when you do a 90-degree clockwise or anti-clockwise rotation, or for any angle. So we can make a small mark on the tracing paper. Then we are going to draw this shape A on the tracing paper. Then we are going to place the pencil at different points on the grid and rotate it 90 degrees clockwise, 90 degrees anti-clockwise, until the image, until the diagram that we drew in the tracing paper coincides with this shape B that is given in the grid. The moment we figure out it coincides, that is when we know that the point where we were holding the tracing paper with is going to be that turning point or the center of rotation. In this case, this origin will be the center of rotation. So we can write it as it's rotated 90 degrees anti-clockwise about the origin, or we can write the coordinate points as 0, 0. The next part of the question is, on the grid, draw the image of shape A after a reflection in the line x is equal to -1. So first we need to draw the x is equal to -1 line. This is the x-axis, this is -1 in the x-axis, which means the line that we need to draw will be a line that goes through the x is equal to, through -1 in the x-axis like this. So when I reflect it, this shape that I have in the left side of this line should be reflected to the right side. So when we do the reflection, it should be the same distance away. This vertex is 2 units away from the x is equal to -1 line. It should be the same distance in the opposite side. It will be here. This vertex will be here when reflected. This vertex is 4 units away from this line. So 4 units away from this line will be here. Then this is going to be 4 units away again. It's going to be here. Next we have here, this, and this way. This is how it will be. Then we're going to connect it to form the shape. So this is how the image will look like, or the shape will look like after this after shape A has been reflected above this line. Let's move on to the next question that we have, which is question 19. The diagram shows a small circle with radius 7 centimeters and a large circle with radius r centimeters. And in the question, it states that the area of 16 small circles is the same as the area of one large circle. That means small circle's area, when I times it by 16, this will be equal to one large circle's area. This is something to do with area. So area of circles. So in that case, we need to use the area of the circle formula, which is pi r squared. So to calculate the area of a small circle, we would do pi times the radius of the small circle, which is 7. So that's going to be 7 squared. This is the same as when I multiply this by 16, that is equal to area of the larger circle. So I'm going to times this by 16 as well. In the other side, we have the large circle's area we need to write. To do that, we need to do pi times the radius of the larger circle, which is not known, that we are supposed to find. So that's going to be this r here, the uppercase R. Now I need to find what this r is. So I can bring this pi to the other side, or I can cancel off the pi and the pi here itself. So I have 7 squared times 16, which is equal to r squared. So I need to square root this answer that I have to find the value of r, because r squared is equal to 7 squared times 16, which means to find r, I need to get rid of this square. So I need to square root it. So I'm going to put this in the calculator. So we have 7 squared, and then I need to times it with 16. That is equal to 28, which means the radius of the larger sphere is going to be 28 centimeters. Let's move on to the next question, which is question 20. The nth term of a sequence is n squared minus 3. Find the first 3 terms of this sequence. To find the first 3 terms of the sequence, the value of n should be substituted with 1, 2, and 3. So that will be 1 squared minus 3. This will give us the first term, which is negative 2. Then 2 squared minus 3, which will give us the second term, which is 2 squared is 4, 4 minus 3 is 1. Then we have 3 squared minus 3. 3 squared is a 9. 9 minus 3 is a 6. So we need to do the square, and then only we need to subtract it. So the 3 terms are negative 2, 1, and 6. The second part of this question is, we are given 5 terms, and we need to find the nth term of this sequence. First, find the difference between the numbers. So from 2, for me to make it into a 9, I need to add a 7. 9 to 16, again, I need to add a 7. 16 to 23, add a 7. So each time, I need to add a 7 to find the next term, which means this 7 forms the first part of the nth term, which is 7n. Now, a number usually gets connected to this term, the first part of the term that is being added or subtracted. So to find that, now our first term is 7. So we need to see from 7 what we should do to get to this 2 by adding or subtracting. So from 7, for me to get to this 2 by adding or subtracting, I must deduct a 5. Only then I can get to this 2. This minus 5 connects with the next part of this nth term, the first part of the nth term. So therefore, 7n minus 5 is the nth term of this sequence given. Let's now move on to question 21. The length L meters of a rope is 18.7 meters correct to the nearest 10 centimeters. And we need to calculate the value of L. So that is the largest possible, smallest possible value, and the largest possible value it could be. That is what we are supposed to find. So this is a question that is related to bounds. To find that, now it clearly states that it has been rounded to the nearest centimeters, 10 centimeters, which means first what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert 10 centimeters to meters, because this amount 18.7 is given in meters, and this L that is represented here is also in meters. So I need to convert this 10 centimeters into meters. So to convert centimeters to meters, I need to divide it by 100. So when I divide this 10 by 100, I end up getting 0.1 meters. So 0.1 meter. So we need to write our answer correct to 0.1 meter. That is the question. Once when this is given like this, you should always divide it by 2 to find what number should be added or subtracted to calculate the upper bound and the lower bound. When I divide the 0.1 by 2, I get 0.05, which means to this 18.7, I need to add 0.05 to find the upper bound, and I need to deduct 0.05 to find the lower bound. So we end up getting 18.75 as the largest value, and the smallest number is going to be 18.65, because from 18.7, when I deduct 0.05, I get 18.65. Let's now move on to question 22. 6.5 times 10 to the power 19 times n is equal to 5.46 times 10 to the power 23. We need to find the value of n, and we need to write the value of n in the standard form. Now, this entire amount that we have here is being multiplied with n. So if I'm to take it to the other side, I need to do the opposite of it. That is to divide it by that amount, which means the value of n is equal to 5.46 times 10 to the power 23 divided by 6.5 times 10 to the power 19. I'm going to simplify the powers of 10 separately. So I have 10 to the power 23 and 10 to the power 19. They are being divided. So it means we can simply subtract the indices. So from 23, when I subtract 19, I get a 4, which means these two cancel out, leaving you with 10 to the power 4 here. Then the next thing that we have is we have 5.46 divided by 6.5. So I'm going to do that division now. So I have 5.46 divided by 6.5. So when I do that, I end up getting 0.84, which means the value that I have is 0.84 times 10 to the power 4. This is the value of n, but it's not written in the standard form yet. Because when writing it in the standard form, the number that we write here should be a number that is equal to 1 or a number that is in between 1 and 10. For me to do that, I need to move the decimal point one step to the right. So that is how it becomes 8.4, which is a number that is in between 1 and 10. Now here, this is a number that is less than 1. So whenever the number is less than 1, when we try to move the decimal point to the point so that we can write it in the standard form, the power will always be negative for that. So that means for this 0.84, I can write the power as 10 to the power negative 1, because I moved 1 unit to the right. But already I have 10 to the power 4 here. So this 10 to the power negative 1 and 10 to the power 4 makes it 10 to the power 3, because when multiplying, the indices has to be added together. The multiplying base terms with the same base. When we do that, the indices has to be added. -1 and 4 is a 3. So this is equal to 8.4 times 10 to the power 3. Let's move on to question 23. Triangle ABC is mathematically similar to triangle DEF, and calculate the value of H. When two shapes are mathematically similar, we say that the angles are equal and the ratio of the sides are proportional, or we say that the ratio of the sides are equal, or we say that the sides are proportional, which means the side that is matching with this 118.9 is this side, that is 159.9. So I'm going to write it as 118.9 over 159.9. In this case, I have written the smaller shape's value at the top and the larger shape's value at the bottom. I need to equate this with the other sides that are matching. The smaller shape, the side in the smaller shape, which is H, should be written at the top, and the side in the larger shape, which is this 97.5, should be written at the bottom like this. Now, for me to find what H is, I need to cross multiply and isolate H. So we have 159.9 times H is equal to 118.9 times 97.5. I need to bring this 159.9 to the other side. So I need to divide it by that amount. So 159.9, I'm going to divide it. So when I divide it by that amount, this leaves me with the value of H. So the value of H is equal to, so I'm going to put this in the calculator, which is 118.9 times 97.5, and then we need to divide it by 159.9. So when I do that, the value that I end up getting is 72.5, which means this side length in the smaller triangle is 72.5 centimeters. So we can do it this way, or we can find the linear scale factor. So that is when we divide this 118.9 by 159.9, the answer that we get is going to be the linear scale factor. And using that also, we can find this value of H. Let's move on to the next question, which is question 24. Without using a calculator, work out this calculation that is given here. And we must make sure to show our workings. So, in the simplest form, we must write it in the simplest form as a fraction. Now, first, we need to get rid of this mixed number that we have by converting it into an improper fraction. So to do that, the whole number that we have in front should be multiplied with the denominator. So 1 times 4 is a 4. That answer we get should be added to the numerator. So 1 times 4 is a 4, 4 plus 1 is a 5. So that becomes 5 over 4. And then I need to deduct 5 over 6. When we add or subtract fractions, it's important that the denominators are the same. We have 4 and 6. Both 4 and 6 are in the 12 times table. Or we say that 12 is the lowest common multiple of 4 and 6. So we need to make this into 12 by multiplying by a 3. I can do the same thing to this. Multiply this by a 2 times this by a 2. So 3 times 5 is 15. Over 3 times 4 is 12. Minus 5 times 2 is 10 over 12. 15 minus 10 is going to be a 5 over 12. This is what we get as the answer. Let's move on to question 25. The highest common factor of the two numbers is 6 and the lowest common multiple of the two numbers is 90. Both numbers are greater than 6 and we need to work out what those two numbers are. Now, when we consider the highest common factor and the lowest common multiple, the product of the highest common factor and the lowest common multiple is equal to the product of the two numbers. So that is whatever those two numbers are. When we multiply those two numbers, the answer that we get will be equal to the answer that we get when we multiply the highest common factor and the lowest common multiple. In the question, the highest common factor is given to us as 6. The lowest common multiple is given to us as 90. So when we multiply 6 and 90 together, we get 540, which means the two numbers that we find here in the other side, the two numbers that we are supposed to find, when multiplied should be equal to 540. And in addition to that, we should also keep in mind that both the numbers are greater than 6. So you can think of all the factor pairs of 540, which are greater than 6. And we should also keep in mind that the highest common factor is 6, which means the meaning of that is both the numbers should be divisible by 6. That's the largest number that can be used to divide both the numbers. That's the meaning. So when we consider the factor pairs of 540, which are above 6, it's going to be 9 times, so I can write it here as 9 times 60. Then we have 10 times 54. Then we have 12 times 54. Then we have 15 times 12 times 45. I'm sorry about that. 12 times 45, 15 times 36, 18 times 30, and we also have 20 times 27. These are the factor pairs that make 540. These are the factor pairs of 540. Then now in this case, now all these number factor pairs I have written are greater than 6. We do have less than 6 as well, but we are not going to write it because both the numbers should be greater than 6. And the highest common factor is 6, which means both the numbers that we have here, we should be able to divide it by 6, and that should be the largest number that can be used to divide both, which means in that case, it will be 18 and 30, because these two are the only numbers which are both divisible by 6. At the same time, that is the largest number that can divide both these numbers given here. Therefore, the two numbers are 18 and 30. With that, we will be done with all the questions that we have in this paper.